Welcome back, everyone. Among the many trade rumors we have gotten so far, believe it or not, very few of them have been completely unrealistic, though you already knew that was bound to change. And that's what I thought when we heard about Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young being linked to their team, which would be completely ridiculous with their current amount of trade assets. However, after looking into it a bit further, the report is not talking about trading for them right now. Rather, it would involve trading for them after this season comes to an end, and at that point, it would actually become much more likely, or at least if they don't make a big move at the trade deadline, and we'll talk about why during today's video. Before we get too far into it though, if you are looking for non-Lakers related NBA content from me, then be sure to check out my second channel, JSM Plus. We're unfortunately not able to upload over there much right now due to lack of support, but we would genuinely appreciate it if you checked it out. There will be a link for it in the video description down below. But without further ado, let's dive right into it. And I know it might sound ridiculous to get a guy like Donovan Mitchell or Trae Young, but that might change around the NBA draft. Don't get me wrong, it's still not very likely to happen, but let's talk about why and how the Lakers could pull it off. As many of you know by now, they have only one tradable first round draft pick, which happens to be their 2029 first round pick, though they would obviously have zero of them if they traded at the trade deadline. But let's say they keep it, how could that benefit them later on? Well, like I referred to before about the NBA draft, they could push their number of tradable first round draft picks from only one, all the way to 3 within a couple of weeks. If you're not aware of how tradable first round draft picks work, for one, you cannot trade them in back-to-back years, and then you can only trade them 7 years in advance. But as soon as the NBA calendar year comes to an end, typically on or around June 30th, that is when that 7-year draft pick window gets pushed a year further, immediately opening up another year of tradable first round draft picks, and that right there will give the Lakers one more tradable first round pick, allowing them to trade both their 2029 first round pick and then their newly gained 2031 first round pick. But that's not all, as they would also be getting one more around the NBA draft. Now, we don't know for sure if it will be their 2024 first round pick, which would be this year, or their 2025 first round pick, but the New Orleans Pelicans will decide that for them prior to the NBA draft. Because if you did not know, they have the choice between the two of them. It will be the final draft pick they owe them from the Anthony Davis trade, finally releasing them from the quote-unquote hostage they have had with their draft picks. And as soon as the Pelicans make their pick between them, the Lakers will gain a third tradable first round draft pick. And now that we got all that figured out, you can figure out why a big trade would become more realistic for them. For one, 3 tradable first round draft picks is quite the offer by itself, but then when you throw in a couple of young players with them, that can get you pretty darn close to a quote-unquote superstar level player. And no matter how you feel about them, both Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell fall into that category. They might not be great defenders, but they are 2 of the most prolific offensive players in the entire league. But now the question is, would either of them be worth giving up their trade assets for? Again, they will be gaining plenty of them around late June, and if they keep their 2029 first round draft pick rather than trade it before the trade deadline, they might be able to put it towards a guy like one of these two. But should they be wanting to do that? I mean, it definitely is something to keep in mind here, but that would also mean going without making a big trade right now, pretty much leaving them with the team they currently have, which you may or may not believe is enough for them to make a deep run. That would mean no trade for a guy like DeJounte Murray, or even a guy like Bruce Brown for that fact. They could only hope to make minor moves at the trade deadline, which again, you may or may not believe would be enough to make a difference for a 500 team. Now, I'm not saying they should go in one direction or the other here, but thinking about it this way really opens up your mind. They could either make a smaller move right now, which would do more for them in the short term, or wait a little bit longer to make an even bigger move. Again, not saying to go in one direction or the other here, I'm simply telling you about the difficult choice they'll have to make, and it's one that I'm not sure many fans are aware of. Now, we don't even know if Trae Young or Donovan Mitchell will become available, but that's the kind of prize they could go after with more tradable first round draft picks. And beginning with Trae Young, I think there's an argument for him being both worth it and potentially being available too. At the moment, the Atlanta Hawks are on the verge of entering a rebuild. They have not been able to replicate what they did back in 2021 when they made the conference finals, and who knows if Trae Young will want to stick around for that, or even believes they can build a good team around him again. I mean, there does not appear to be any big time indication that he wants to leave, but we've seen how that can change rather quickly. And after they trade DeJounte Murray, along with many more veteran players on their team right now, he might feel differently if they don't get a great return for them. And between now and then, he'll have a lot to think about when it comes to his future, which might lead to him wanting to be elsewhere. And while I'm not the biggest fan of Trae Young, we know about how the Lakers like to go star hunting. And if LeBron ends up leaving them during free agency, then they would have a need for a ball handler to replace him with. Again, he might not be my ideal player to do that with, but I think it would be fun watching him throw lobs to Anthony Davis. Hate on Trae Young all you want, but the guy knows how to throw a good alley-oop. And then he's obviously not too bad of a three-point shooter either. Definitely could use some improvement on defense, but it's hard to find a perfect player, and I imagine the Lakers would heavily consider him if they went this route. Although an even better option could be Donovan Mitchell, another guy with an uncertain future. He's playing well in Cleveland right now, but many reports have hinted they never wanted to be there to begin with. I mean, I think everybody knows they want to be in New York at this point, and while I'll definitely not rule that out if he became available again, I think he simply wants to be playing for a big market, and I can't imagine they'd say no to playing in LA. Now, it would take every trade asset they have to get him, but you won't find a more complete scoring option than Donovan Mitchell, and what he has been doing lately for an injury-riddled Cleveland Cavaliers team has been pretty darn impressive. I think he would be a really fun option to pair with Anthony Davis, with or without LeBron still being there with them too. The guy can drop 30 at will, and he can score from anywhere on the court. Not only that though, but I've been pretty impressed with the playmaking leap he's taken too. Definitely correlated with them being without Darius Garland, but Mitchell is currently averaging a new career high 6.1 assists per game, and he's doing it while committing fewer than 3 turnovers per game. In my opinion, he's still finding ways to get better, and at only 27 years old, there would be little to no worry about him declining anytime soon, which is definitely a big plus when making a major trade. At the end of the day though, it would be taking a big risk by waiting for a player like that to become available. Not only are they not guaranteed to even become available, but they will be passing up on making their team better right now to take that risk. But then on the other hand, they have not had 3 tradable first round draft picks, along with 3 tradable first round draft pick swaps, and multiple second round draft picks to trade in a very long time now, which would definitely give them the opportunity to make a big move. But if they trade away their 2029 first round draft pick right now, that would make it nearly impossible for them to acquire like Donovan Mitchell or Trae Young. Not that it has to be one of those two specifically, but simply a player on that kind of level. In my opinion, it is a really difficult decision for them to make. It would be extremely difficult to pass up on trading for a guy like DeJounte Murray for example, but then again, you'd also feel pretty dumb if you don't have enough trade assets to acquire Donovan Mitchell if he became available, and especially if the trade he made earlier did not lead to anything. With all of that being said though, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the debate between making a trade right now, or potentially waiting until after this season to make a bigger trade? Comment your thoughts down below. That will do it for this video though. Big thank you to those of you who took the time to watch until the end of this video, and until the end of all of my videos in general. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.